Okay, let's go to the next one. So there is an extension for bank moratoriums. So this one, again, there was a 6 months moratorium extension. I guess this was actually announced one day after. So when PEMULIH was announced on the 28th, everyone was a bit skeptical whether there will be any moratorium or not. And then I think 29, our finance minister came out to say that, yes, they have negotiated with the bank. And this is good news because they will be waiving the compounded interest. So it's a good time to take a breather if you guys need to. It's not automatic. You need to contact the bank to apply for this. So most banks actually have an online platform already. So you go inside there, all you need to do is key in your loan agreement number and some of the details, and then you should be able to get it. There should not be any conditions, and there's no need to submit any documentation based on our finance minister.
Right. So there was a lot of these viral posts going on the internet saying that, I think this is from Maybank's website. I'm actually on the Maybank website right now. They were saying that they got the repayment assistance package. I'm not sure if it's the same. It says in line with Permacasa Plus. I'm not sure if the same thing, but it's saying that if you actually took the moratorium, they will extend the tenor of the loan, especially for higher purchase apparently. So is that something that, how is that going to affect people in your opinion, right? Because majority of Malaysians are car drivers.
Okay, I think you all need to be careful when you go into the platforms and look for this. You really have to talk to an officer and apply to the correct one. Permacasa was announced in March. And at that point in time, because there was actually no moratorium given, so the banks were actually doing more like a loan restructuring for you. Those are actually not beneficial because some of the feedbacks I got back is that there were revision of interest rates, which means your interest rates, they could have given you a higher interest rate. And then with a longer tenure, definitely you have to pay more in long term. That would not be beneficial. So be careful which platform you're going into and make sure that you are actually on the right one.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing is a lot of banks' website. I'm sure on a few banks' website right now, just to double check. Many of them are not even updated yet. They simply put out a statement that, hey, we're gonna be updating soon. So I think making sure you are applying for the right one is very, very important as well, as Xiaozi has been pointing out.
I think most of the time, the bankers kind of know the news at the same time as us, right? As us, the general public. And that's the reason why every time we look at all this news, I call my insurance company, my bankers, and they say, yeah, we just got to know about it and let us work on something first.
Right.
Exactly. So we have come to accept the fact that when they announce, don't do anything, you just give it a week before you start calling anyone. Yeah.
All right.
But this is something good that you can, everyone should take advantage of.
Before we go there, let's go back to the moratorium. I just want to quickly talk in terms of the impact for the spending power. One thing that we are noticing is that I think the market confidence has been very low over the last few months due to the fact that they are worried about their income, a lot of uncertainty, businesses, moratorium, lots of things they got to worry about, which we understand this is very normal given the circumstances that we're in right now. Do you think this bank loan moratorium is going to give more market confidence to the people for them to come out and spend money again like last year? Because last year the rebound was almost a V-shape in terms of economy around August time.
What I believe is that the impact may not be as positive as last year, because I guess last year everyone felt that the MCO is a one-off thing. After we came out from the MCO, I think everyone was just like, okay, it's going to be one-off. That's it. Things are going to be back to normal. But now, I think everyone will realize that even though we are going to come out from the MCO, which we don't know when, right? It's going to be another cycle. So I think people will be even more cautious now and be even more, will not be spending as much as, you probably won't see the same rebound that you will see last year. And another thing I wanted to point out is that I think a lot of SMEs that are stuck now can't even get any loan.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another sad thing, because the banks are actually quite stringent in their reviewing process. They are they have even, blankly tell and say that, no loans for F&Bs, travel. I mean, those industry who are badly affected, who really need the money, but unfortunately, they are not even in the consideration of any loans at all for this moment. Even though their financial statements may show a positive, they still take that as a risk factor. Unless you can really show that you are doing really, really well and really put your case through. So in the past, if you actually shows a positive retained earning, a net profit, for example, you should be able to get something from the bank. But at this point in time, that is not as certain as it is now.
Well,
I think the biggest problem is I over the past few weeks, past few months, I've been having calls with some of the owner circle members, and there's one particular story where this guy shared with me tens of outlets of F&B business, right? F&B outlets. Don't mention the brand. He was mentioning that last year he already took $1 million of loan, right? And
Wow.
this year kind of done everything already. And he said at this point of time, yeah, because when you have like 30 outlets, central kitchen, you can imagine the kind of overheads they have, right? And he was showing me that this year money has already been burned. If no loans coming up, I think they are going to close down. And I think he's not the only one, because many F&B businesses that I'm speaking to, especially the big brands, the one in retail, in shopping malls, I don't think they're getting any help either, right? I heard that most of the malls are still charging as per normal.
Yeah, so I just want to quickly chime in here. A couple of things. Number one, I'm not going to mention names of the shopping mall, but let's just say that it's in Petaling Jaya, and the last word is going to be very important. Let's just say that they are still charging full rent during this MCO, despite a lot of businesses are unable to even operate and open. A lot of offices are still charging. You might find one or two, obviously, certain percentage of landlords that are going to be a lot more understanding, maybe because they're in business themselves. But because many times, in Malaysia, we don't have the rent exemption like other countries, right? That actually implemented rent exemption to the businesses, like in the US and different countries as well. I think that should have been done here. But I understand why they did this. I'm guessing that they felt like the incentive that they're given is enough. And I just got the latest news while I was actually doing this with you guys. Today we are 12 cases away from 7,000 cases today. 12 cases away. So I know cases are not the best indicators right now in terms of how the country is doing with COVID. But I think one of the things that we need to understand is from the business owner point of view. Every time we see big numbers like this, it's not that the fact that it's accurate or inaccurate, it's the fact that it will jeopardizes the business owner's confidence and the certainty. A lot of my friends who are running retail businesses, they're already feeling like, man, this again. Like they're speechless. They're like, they're at a point where they just want to give up. That's why we're seeing all these suicide attempts every single day, right? So now I'm a bit indifferent now. Before we go on, obviously I know we have more to share, but before I go on, my stand is that I believe that we should not lock down. I believe that we should have done what Florida did, which is to open up and do targeted lockdowns. And if they want to get sick, let them go out and get sick. If they want to be safe, they wear their mask and be safe. That kind of situation. Give freedom back to the people. Now, I know a lot of Malaysians don't agree with me. That's why we're having this discussion. But I felt like the lockdown is not working because today we're close to 7,000 cases. It's like the more we lock down, the more cases we get, which is insane. Absolutely insane. Doesn't make sense at all, right? So what I'm trying to tell is that perhaps, for business owners, this is the toughest challenge that any business owner will have to go through in a probably the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years, maybe a little longer than that.
I think the thing about Malaysia and Florida is a bit different, because the biggest challenge that we have in Malaysia is, if you notice, during the Raya, right before Raya, you go to all these pasar, what you call that, where they are trying to book up puasa, it's packed, man. People don't really care. Yeah.
It's the same thing with Florida too. Florida has the same thing. They've got like markets. They've got they just had a Bitcoin conference, 20,000 people apparently. So it's the same exact thing. I just think that the fact is whether the people are able to take care of themselves. I think that's a very important thing in terms of education. Do they really think this is a serious matter or not? And also the fact that we also have to understand the vaccines. In America, there's always the better vaccines, the Pfizer, which is apparently very effective against many variants. A lot of Malaysians are still not vaccinated yet. So that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest issue we have. I always say the vaccine is the key to it, and lockdown. I'm because whether you like it or not, lockdown is going to have a long-term effect. If you guys have kids, you're listening to this, you got kids, 10, 20 years from now, their behavior is going to be because of what stemmed over these past 2 years, right? Maybe they are going to be antisocial. Maybe they're going to be, do things a lot differently. The culture might change in a very negative way due to lockdown. We don't know. But lockdown is going to create a lot more social issue and is destroying a lot of middle class right now because of this as its side effect. I understand health is important, but without wealth, your health cannot do too far too. You get what I'm saying? So that's why my thinking is a little bit different when it comes to this.
Yeah. But I'm more favorable to the Singapore approach. I think
Yep.
Singapore, the Prime Minister has made it very clear, COVID is here to stay. We're going to live with it. Let's look at how can we live with it. And if you look at the way they did it was fantastic. If you're a senior citizen, you don't even have to register. Right, in Malaysia, what we are seeing is you see a lot of guys, they are trying to register for their parents. And over there, they're clear. Senior citizens, what do they know about digitization, right?
Yeah.
Right? Just walk in and then you can get your things done, and they make it so smooth for the Singapore citizens. So one thing I think if we could see more of is the acceptance that COVID is here to stay, right? And how do we live with it? How do we build our business around it? How do we build our life around it?
Right.
And even employees, what's the next wave, right? If COVID is here to stay for a long run. Yeah, but I think our Malaysian government is taking a lot of temporary measures. They got to be answerable to the people. They got to be seen like they're doing something. And that's why today, when we look at the kind of tactics or strategies that they apply, it's about, okay, I give you 3K lah. Happy, yeah? Right, I give you 1K, yeah? Right, are you okay? Right, give you 6 months loan moratorium. But there's no clear strategy that discuss about, how are we going to live with COVID for the next couple of years or even for the next lifetime?
You know what I think they should have done? I think Finance Ministry and Commerce Ministry should have had a meeting and invite leaders of association from every industry or as many industries as possible to have a proper meeting over Zoom. Maybe 30 industries, have a meeting. Hey, what do you guys want in your industry? What do you guys want? What do you guys want? If they are really crowdfunding ideas, crowdfunding, things. Sometimes businesses don't need money. There are other ways to save businesses even without money. Of course, money is important, it's primary, but maybe certain things can be done. Maybe outsourcing certain works. We have talked about in the past. I've listened to a podcast. I can't remember who they were talking about. Perhaps the people that are in hospitality and event that were completely wiped out during this pandemic. Give them a job to manage the queue, manage the vaccination center, put up the things better. Make the government contracts, give it to them so that the money flows into the people instead of going to government contractors, right? So there's a lot of ways to do this, but I just felt like there's a lot of things that were done in desperation. Right? Let's go back to the incentives. How about we just finish a few things that we have left before we drag on and start going back to diarrhea and durian. Okay.